Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I'm Irfan Hussain, and I'm here with you with a new lecture on Russian literature. And our today's topic is dehumanization of bureaucracy in Gogol's The Overcoat. We already have read, and I suppose that all of you have read the text of the story Overcoat. And today we will discuss a very brutal element of the story, that is a dehumanization of bureaucracy. What we'll study today is a more bureaucracy is a modern disease. Akei Akekowicz, Akekowicz, the perfect non-person. The bureaucratic ecosystem, layers of dehumanization, the ghost, revenge, bureaucracy beyond death. In Gogol's literary technique and contemporary relevance. In conclusion, they hope can bureaucracy be humanized? You have to answer it, or you have to give your opinion about it. So let us start with the modern disease. Gogol wrote The Overcoat in 1842, diagnosing disease infecting modern bureaucracy. This lecture explores how administrative systems strip away individuality and dignity, reducing people to function at files. Have you ever felt like just a number, a roll number, a file, a cog in the machine? This question is to you. Whether you ever feel that you have no existence, you are no person, you are just an object. So you have to think about it. The enduring melody, bureaucracy, toll. Gogol's 1842 story emerged during a period of complex and impersonal Russian bureaucracy under Nicholas I. The king Nicholas was the king of Russia from 1825 to 1855, and his period was marked with strict rule and autocracy, bureaucracy, and that was a time when not only he expanded his dominion, but he held a very strong hand on these people. And that was, in fact, the credit of Gogol that he wrote in that strict time. Its relevance is universal. Story's relevance is universal. If you remember, I gave you a story to read that was by Munshi Premchand, Jaman Ka Darakht. So, Jaman Ka Darakht was written pre-partition period, but see the universality of the concept. The same bureaucracy was involved there, and same bureaucracy was unveiled there as it was unveiled in Gogol's Overcoat. So the concept is universal. The bureaucracy creates a non-person, stripping individual identity, creativity, and dignity, as Gogol powerfully demonstrated. So that is a matter. They demolish, they snatch the identity of the individuals, and they impose the strict general rules on all of them. Characteristics of bureaucratic dehumanization. What are the characteristics? Hierarchy reduces person to rank or position. Values determined by organization chart, not humanity. You see, that is a common practice. For example, I'm sitting in my office, and some person comes for some kind of pursuit in my office, and he, in spite of telling his name or in spite of giving his own introduction, he always tells that I am the friend of that person. I am this officer. I belong to this office. So in spite of giving their own introduction, they always try to give the introduction of some influencing person, or himself, if he is himself influencing, having an influencing position. So that has become the order of the day. Routine eliminates creativity and thought. Repetitive tasks performed mechanically without engagement. As we are doing all these things, as you have read, or you are going to read in um, waiting for God, that we are what we are doing, that everything is happening mechanically without any kind of charm, any kind of new colors. if you remember the myth of Sisyphus. Documentation, what Kekovich is doing there, it replaces human with file or paper. The record becomes more real than the person it represents. Our example of history and other record keeping can be thought here. Impersonality removes emotional connection. Decisions made without empathy, treating people as cases. You see what's happening? That humanity has been set aside. There's a big question that can AI give the judgments? Yes, AI can give the judgments. But what is the difference between a judgment of an AI and a human being? That AI does not have emotions and feelings. When a human being, for example, a student is struck off of the college roll, and he comes for his readmission, AI will be given the case that he has that problem. Should the student be eliminated from the college or not? And AI on the following the rules will definitely make him eliminated from the college. But what if there is a human being sitting there, and a human being can see whether the student is whether he was having a kind of family crisis or whatever it was, and then that human being can decide according to the emotions and feelings and keeping all the perspective, all the background of the story in the mind. But AI cannot do that. So that dehumanization, that kind of personality, and that kind of uh, unconcerned attitude was in fact the attitude had been in fact the attitude of bureaucracy that was shown by Gogol. Red tape is always there. Jaman Kadrak is one of the wonder examples of red tape that frustrates human needs, procedures, prioritized over people rules. We know that whenever we reach the offices, we face a lot of hurdles, a lot of problems, and that is the red tape that creates hurdles in every task. A KK Kekevich, the ratio of identity. Let us see its etymology. That name was derived from Greek ekokos, that means innocent and harmless, signaling his vulnerability and lack of agency. You see, we find all these things in Ekekevich in our protagonist. That is harmless, that he is innocent, and that is why he was vulnerable to danger, and he was easily robbed, and he was easily dehumanized, easily was brutally dealt by the bureaucracy, and finally he met his demise. Phonetic absurdity, the absurd, repetitive sound mimics a machine stuttering. Ekekevich. Ekekevich. That is a kind of machine stuttering. Mechanical, monotonous, devoid of meaning. Identity void, no meaningful family name. Ekekevich, we don't know his family. He's living alone with his landlady. No history, no individuality. Even his name sounds like a copy of itself because his work was doing the copies, writing the copy, and we see in the story when he was given a kind of easy job to do with his own mind, and he could not do that easiest task even, and finally he was again put to his copy work. So that name KK Ekekevich indicates that his job and his ability. Now, the student discussion point, why does Gogol give us such a ridiculous name? We already have discussed it, but you can give your own opinion. And what does it signal about how the system sees him? How the system sees him? That is the perspective that you have to see. The name as metaphor, systematic conception. So, see, uh, along with the humanization, we are uh, discussing this subtopic of the name that can be given in your exam. So be serious about it and try to understand and make your own opinion as well. Repetition, I have discussed it, I think, and you will read this slide, and also I will share some PDF with you, and you will read it. The job, mechanical soul, crushing existence, Akekovich, unchanging role as copy, despite shifting superiors, highlights his frozen. Since I already have explained it that he could only do the copy, the same things could copy, and even once he was given a single easy task, but he could not perform it. A cake is physicality, the body as a defective machine. So see, diminish existence. Qualifiers like shortish, somewhat pockmarked, somewhat blind suggest a man lacking definitive traits. His hair was like tow, as was given in the story, industrial processed, resembling a rough, cheap fiber rather than organic tissue, like his overcoat, old overcoat. Neck covered with freckles, like strains on paper. His body bears marks of imperfection, a flawed document. His eyes acquired a kind of acquired look. Even his gaze is second-hand, emphasizing a complex lack of originality or authenticity. If you have studied the story, that will be easy for you to understand. The overcoat Akeke's externalized humanity. The overcoat is not just clothing, it is his humanity existentialized, externalized. Without it, he is diminished and vulnerable. So see, when gets a new overcoat, when he wears only for one day, and he feels himself some kind of dignified, who is having an identity, and people started to recognize him, people started to greet him, and he got a kind of existence, a kind of some presence in society. So that overcoat, in fact, symbolizes identity, respect, honor, and representation in the society. With it, he gains confidence, a sense of self. When stolen, when the overcoat was stolen, his personality is stripped away, leaving only the empty shell of a bureaucratic functionary. So when the coat was stolen, he wore again his old coat, and he again went to his old position. Rather, he went worst this time and finally met his death. Bureaucratic ecosystem, layers of dehumanization. The goal illustrates how dehumanization uh, permeates every level of bureaucracy, from mocking colleagues to exploitative service providers, culminating in the indifference of those in ultimate power. Bureaucracy creates a hierarchy of oppression. When we read the story, we see that his colleagues always mock at him. And he, as his name tells, is a weak person, he's an innocent man. He never counters them. Only, only a few times, what he says, why are you teasing me? Why do you mock at me? Well, he could not say more than anything. So, from his own colleagues who's supposed to be superior to him, to the important man, to the police, to even the guard, everyone everyone ignores him, and if they notice him, they mock at him. We see that he was scolded by the important man. He was scolded by the policeman. He was mocked at by his people. That was his. So these were the layers from bottom to top, starting from the colleagues, from the street guard, from the police officer, and from to the important political figure of the city. All the layers have the same bureaucratic attitude, and we see that in the same in the society. That from a peon of an officer to the officer himself, we face all these layers of bureaucratic behavior in offices. Dehumanization hierarchy, we already have discussed this, that colleagues, the mockery, and Petrovic, the exploitation, important person, the apex predator. You can read it yourself now. So read these slides one by one, and then we come to the ghost bureaucracies, haunting